Hey guys, today I've titled my episode The Tozer Trap: Why Good Christian Men Fail at Home. And I'm going to tell you a story about Tozer that maybe you've never heard of before. Maybe you're going to be surprised by what you find out about this guy. Or maybe you've never heard of him, and that's okay too, because the point I think will be made either way. And the point of that, and the point of this conversation today is this: most men think that they're doing fine because they're providing for their families financially. And many of us fall into this trap of thinking that, you know what, I'm providing for my family, I'm giving them what they need, I'm a good dad, I'm a good man, I'm a godly man, maybe. But the question that I want to raise in your mind isn't to say that you're not. I'm not going to judge you. I don't even know who you are, probably. You, though, ought to judge yourself based on what God thinks about this. Is the way that you're leading your family, taking care of your family, providing for your family, providing for your loved ones, is it enough? Is it appropriate according to the way that God might define it? So I want to talk about that today. And it's not an episode to bring guilt or shame or anything like that. But like everything else, this is a podcast about practical discipleship training for Christian men who want to live intentionally. And that's really what this is about today for me. It's alignment between saying that I want to be a man that loves God and takes care of my family, and I want to actually do it. I want there to be alignment between what I say and what I do, and I bet you do too. It's probably why you're listening to the show, right? And sometimes we need these conversations to be this wake-up call that we need to hear. And again, I'm going to tell you a story here with Tozer that I bet maybe provides that for you. There are many of us Christian men, and we all are fallen. We all are falling short. There's so many areas, of course, for all of us to get better. And that's really what I hope you take from this. Let's just get better rather than wallowing in it or going, man, I suck at this. I'm a terrible dad. I'm a terrible leader, whatever it is, right? Like rather than going down the negative side of it, I simply want it to be a wake-up call for you if you are one of those who thinks that I'm providing for my family, they have everything they need, but maybe you find out today that something is missing or something more is needed. So let me tell you this really sobering story that I call the Tozer Trap. Tozer, A.W. Tozer, you've probably seen his name. If you're a Christian, if you've been around for a while, you've heard of Tozer, or you've read his books, or you've heard a pastor maybe even just quote him. He is a famous preacher and a famous author, somebody that you've likely heard of, but maybe have never heard this story. Tozer was born in 1919. He grew up in Pennsylvania, but he actually ended up serving in the south side of Chicago. He dies in 1963, and in fact, a lot of people will point back to some of Tozer's writings from back near his death, where he was predicting some of the very things that we're going through. It was almost like very prophetic almost, or like just spot on for the troubles that he saw that were coming, and he nails it, right? So a lot of people point back to his writings there. And in fact, Tozer had written over 40 books. You can find all kinds of writings by Tozer. He was a highly sought after speaker. He was a preacher that people just knew, man, that's a guy that follows after God. And in fact, on his gravestone, the epitaph of Tozer is very simple. It just says, a man of God. Now, obviously, this is a setup conversation. You can hear it. I've been pointing to it. But I want you to listen carefully to this. After his death, the stories about his home life started to surface. And I'm going to read from this book here a little bit. There's a book here called Act Like Men by James MacDonald. And he tells this story in here. And this is where I'd heard this. And listen to some of these stories here as I just read from this book. This is chapter 10 again of Act Like Men by James MacDonald. He says this: best-selling author Lyle Dorset's excellent book, A Passion for God, details much that is commendable about Tozer's ministry and walk with the Lord, but it also speaks candidly about his great contradiction. After his death, his widow remarried, and when asked about her happiness, Ada Cecilia Tozer Odom, her new name, responded, "I have never been happier in my life. Aidan loved Jesus Christ, but Leonard Odom loves me. Were this all that we were to know, we might conclude that Tozer wounded his wife early in a way that made his later efforts to love her less effective. But, quote, by early 1928, the Tozers had a routine. Aidan found his fulfillment in reading, preparing sermons, preaching, and weaving travel into his demanding and exciting schedule, while Ada learned to cope. She dutifully washed, ironed, cooked, and cared for the little ones, and developed the art of shoving her pain deep down inside. Most of the time, she pretended that there was no hurt, but when it erupted, she usually blamed herself for not being godly enough to conquer her longings for intimacy from an emotionally aloof husband, unquote. While not every marriage is a happy one, Shirley Tozer was more attentive to his 7 children. Quote, on and off over the years, Aidan exercised his role as head of the family by encouraging times of family devotions. These never lasted more than a few weeks, though. As one son complained, the children just did... Sorry. As one son explained, the children just did not want it, and they were seldom all together for extended periods in the case. In reality, my greatest preacher was mostly a failure in his primary calling to be a husband and a father, waxing eloquent with great power and precision about the decline that he saw in culture and the church, but he was unable to see the parallel decline in his own family. Watching, but not watching at all, not where it mattered the most. Why didn't someone take him by his mystical, isolationist shoulders and shout in his face, Aidan, snap out of it? Pretty powerful story there about a guy that maybe we've looked up to, a guy whose epitaph says, a man of God. And Tozer, no doubt, did love God. In fact, his wife said that Tozer deeply loved Jesus. But if you remember that line from what I just read, the thing that really just like grabs your heart is when she says, but this new husband loves me. Now, clearly that doesn't mean that the new husband didn't love Jesus. But this is a really clear call that I think ought to give us some pause here. His wife, A.W. Tozer's wife, and children felt like he loved Jesus in the church and preaching and teaching and writing books more than he loved them. Now, is that enough? And I guess that's the question that I present here in this podcast today. He provided financially for them. His writings, his preaching, his job provided for his family. And yet, if they felt the neglect, if they felt that they were lacking emotionally, was it enough? And I just want to say this for clarity's sake. I don't even really mean to use this to bash Tozer. He clearly had an enormous impact on the kingdom of God and was truly, seemingly, a great man. I don't want to discount that. I don't want to bash him. I don't want this to be turned into something that I don't intend for it to be. I just simply want to learn from Tozer in the ways that I've learned from his books about the holiness of God and the majesty of God and the greatness of Christ. I also think that we could learn from this example in the way that his kids and his wife felt like they were neglected while he served Christ so fully. We're talking about providing what your family needs as a man today, because if a guy like Tozer can miss on this, then so can you. So can I, right? Now, according to God, providing for your family is broader and deeper than we might think. In 1 Timothy 5:8, here's what it says. But those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. Interesting, right? Now, number one, I think one of the things that gets missing when it comes to talking about this idea of providing for your family is the word relatives. We often don't think of it this way, but what he's saying here is those who won't care for the relatives, and then he goes, especially those in their own household. And that makes me think this, like, what is the responsibility for us as men, Christian men, followers of Jesus, when it comes to our families it's probably wider than we thought. And we don't hear this taught a lot. And so I guess I would just say, check me on it. What do you think about it? What is the responsibility? What is it really that God is calling us to do as men? It looks to me when I read that passage that it's even wider than we thought, that there is a responsibility to the family as a whole that we are called to provide for and take care of. The other side of that is this, that failing to provide for your family is described as a denial of the faith. Interesting. He says there that when you do this, it makes you, quote, worse than an unbeliever. Why is that? It's because even those who typically don't have a faith in Christ, they're not verbally saying, I'm a follower of this guy here. I'm a follower of this religion. I'm a follower of Jesus himself. I want to look like him, act like him, live like him. Those of us that are saying that out loud aren't taking care of our family, and the world's watching that going, God, we even do that, right? Unbelievers even do that. That was Paul's point there. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Nate Whitson podcast. I wanted to interrupt the show just for a second to let you know that there are all kinds of great resources for Christian men who want to be better husbands, better fathers, better followers of Jesus, and just better men in general. If that's you or maybe somebody that you know, then be sure to head over to getinthefight.club, that's .club, and check out the books and the resources, the coaching material, the newsletter, the Fight Club. There's so much there for you. Getinthefight.club. Check it out today. If you're serious about being the man that God meant for you to be, and you're looking for tools or resources or just help in general, then be sure to head over there right now and check it out. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Now back to the Nate Whitson podcast. So what we do, and I think the big mistake, one of the big traps in this conversation is this. We as men tend to look at providing for our family as strictly those in our house. And that's okay. That clearly is true. But maybe it's even wider than that. And then number two, we look at it like, as long as the bills are paid, as long as they've got a roof over their head. How many times have you grown up? Maybe some of you even grew up hearing that, or maybe you've said that. You got a roof over your head, you ought to be happy, right? I put a roof over your head, I put clothes on your back, I put food in front of you. What else do you need? And maybe there's more. Maybe if you grew up like that, this is a particularly challenging conversation because you're like, that's the way it was growing up for me. My dad was like emotionally distant. He was really just not there. And in fact, I will say this, many people, depending on your age, grew up in homes like that. And I think in particular, those that are probably in their 60s or 70s today grew up where that was very true, very common, that a lot of the men growing up during that generation of the 30s and 40s and 50s, they had opportunities finally in our country to provide more of the good things, the good life, quote unquote, bigger houses and cars and the first TVs and all these things, right? There was extra money to be had. And a lot of these guys went to work and they provided, but they really never really dug into or learned about how to connect with their wives or their kids. They just thought a good man provides, and they were really good at that, but they were maybe missing some of that. And we're a couple generations now from that generation, and we're trying to learn from all of it. That's why you're, again, listening to the show, I'm sure. But many of us are either trained in that or we think that way. And it's typically not very conscious. It's not like we're going, I'm going to just do this. But it's the fact that we do this and then we think that is enough. Like, what else is there, right? And that's why I need a little me time after that. So I'm going to make sure the kids are good, and make sure the wife is good. She's got a house. I throw her some money. She can go do what she wants. But now I'm going to go golf. I'm going to go play video games. I'm going to join a men's rec league or whatever it is. And we go take care of ourselves. And we neglect the hard work that it takes for a godly man to raise his family, to give the extra time and attention where he needs to be giving it. Paul was speaking not just about taking care financially. That's, of course, part of it. But Paul's talking about the responsibility you have to them, the care that you have for them, your presence, your leadership, right? Being a godly man that provides for his family is way bigger than money. It's spiritual leadership. It's emotional availability. It's relating to them and caring for them and knowing them enough that they care about you and they like to be around you, right? A man can pay every bill and still be absent where it matters most. I think that's the most telling thing in this conversation that I hope to get across to you, that I hope to get across to me. You can pay every bill and still fail in the end. What good will it do, right? Jesus is like, what good is it going to do if you gain the whole world and lose here, lose in life? What good does it do? I think Tozer might even agree potentially. If you've written 40 books and are known 50, 60, 70 years after you've passed, and yet your family says, you know what, we're probably better off now that he's gone. Have you won? What is that about? What does that look like? And more importantly, how are you doing there yourself? I think the hard truth and maybe the lie that comes out of this conversation, at least in my mind, is this, that money is oftentimes a convenient excuse for men, and money can fool you. And I think the mistake is this. Again, it's, I work hard, so I've done my job. I've done my part. I'm good. I think that's the lie. That's the common mistake that I just want you to think about here. And maybe the way to really understand this for your story and your situation is to ask your wife, to ask your kids, maybe to even ask your pastor, right? Is this enough? If this is what I'm providing, is this enough? And again, I just think of it this way. Ask your wife this question. Is it enough? Is the life that I'm providing, are the things that I'm doing, are they enough? Is it enough? Or are you lacking in certain things? Am I emotionally present enough for you? Is there anything that you're needing that I'm not providing? Is there anything that I'm like the blinders are on and I can't see? Help me to understand that. Ask your kids. If you have kids that are old enough, ask them. Is there anything that you wish that your dad was doing more of? Is there anything I'm doing that's driving you crazy? Am I around enough? Do I know you enough? Or whatever it is, think through it yourself. Know your kids, know your story, and ask them. Maybe even ask your pastor. Like, hey, pastor, I want to be a great dad. I want a legacy that matters. I want a meaningful life. I want to live intentionally, right? Am I missing anything? Is there anything that I'm off course on here? And then just see what they say. See if they agree. When you provide, it's great. But provision just financially isn't enough. And it's not enough for you in particular to disengage from those other areas that are less easy to provide for. Like paying the bills in some ways is the easiest provision. And I think it's why a lot of us stop where we do. We have a responsibility, though, to lead, and that's hard. That means after you've worked all day, you've still got to have enough emotional and mental capacity to come home and do it again. There's so many times that I will drive home from work or work from home and finish up work for the day and just pray again and say, God, now that I'm done there, help me to come home and serve like crazy. Help me to be like you today, or whatever, some simple prayer. But I know I've got to get my mind, because when I walk in, the tendency is I want to sit down. I want to check out. But I've got work to do. I've got responsibilities at home as a husband and a father. God never asked us as men to choose between being faithful to him and faithful at home. They are one and the same, aren't they? We all know it. And again, today's wake-up call and gut check is, how are you doing? And if you're not sure, don't rely on your ability to translate it in your own terms. Ask the questions, right? And in fact, let me ask you some questions. Let me ask you some questions here that I just want you to just evaluate for yourself. Again, I likely don't even know who you are, and even if I did, doesn't matter. This is just about you and the Lord. Being honest for yourself. Evaluate yourself. In fact, the Bible says test yourself and see. So you test yourself in these. And let me just ask, how are you really doing at home? How's it going? Oftentimes, the best way to ask this is ask the question and then pause a minute and then go, really? For example, how are you doing at home, really? You know what I mean? It's that way of getting like very serious about it and going, okay, like the initial answer's this, but the real answer is this. How are you doing really when it comes to your home life? Where are you missing the boat when it comes to your relationship with your wife? What do your kids need from you that money can't buy? How are you when it comes to your presence? How are you when it comes to your emotional stability? How are you doing with your time? Now, if nothing changes, the big question is this: where will things be for you and your family and your relationships a year from now? If nothing changes, where's this going to take you? Or if nothing changes, where is your family and your relationships going to be 5 years from now or 20 years from now? Right? Now, what is God bringing to your mind as I ask you those questions, as you think through this conversation today? What is he bringing to mind? What conversations have you been avoiding with yourself, with your wife, or with your kids? And then what steps of obedience do you need to take? Is there anything that comes to mind where God's, hey, this thing over here, this is one of those dark corners of your life that we need to put a little light on today. We need to deal with this thing. You know how you've been avoiding this conversation, Nate? I need you to take care of that. You know how you've been neglecting this thing here in your relationship with your wife? You need to go deal with that. You know how your kids are struggling with this thing over here? You need to go deal with that. What are those things that God is speaking to you? And now I just want you to go do it. Be obedient to that thing. And here's the thing. Whenever we have conversations like this, whenever I hear conversations like this, I tend to think, and I feel like this sometimes, like it's too late. Like my kids are already moved out. Many of you I know are maybe driving in the car right now, listening to this going, man, I wish I had time to fix this, but it's too late. And I'm just telling you, it's not true. It's not true. If you are still alive and you have a chance with your kids, it is not too late. You are talking about a God in heaven who hears the cries of his people. He loves you like a father, and you know what that's as a father. You know what that's like to love your wife in this way. This is why God gives us these images of the heart of God. God is not male or female, but we're relating to him as father. We relate the church as a bride because we can understand these things. We can understand the depth of love in these relationships. And so God helps us to connect with him in that way. And he's just, look, I care about you deeply. I'm with you, and it's not too late. Not with me. Let's go do these things. So you be obedient. You can't be the determiner of outcomes. That's God's territory. But while you have breath, I'm just encouraging you, go fix it. Go engage with it. Go deal with it. Be obedient to what God is doing. This conviction that God gives you is so different than condemnation. The devil will say, it's too late. You screwed it up. Your kids are lost. There's no chance. This relationship with your wife, it's over. It's boring. It's never going to get fixed. You don't have it. Blah, 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 blah. He's a liar. He's an absolute liar. God gives conviction, though. And conviction lifts you. Condemnation presses you down. And I'm just saying, listen to the conviction from a loving father that's saying to you, let's go. I'm with you. I'll do the heavy lifting, but I need you to walk. We need to do this together, right? That conviction is a gift. And God does the heavy lifting. It's his work to change your kids or to change your heart or to change your wife and your relationship, but he absolutely can. And he's looking for obedient men. Conviction is a gift if it leads to action, right? You listening to this going, man, God, will you just solve this? I'm going to sit here. Will you fix it? It doesn't work that way. Conviction that leads to action is what changes everything. It's the actions with God now propelling and doing the work that makes change. So let God speak and then let your feet move. Let your mouth move, whatever the thing is, right? Do the thing and let God work in that thing, right? It's not too late. God is gracious. He is kind. He is powerful. And maybe the thing for you today is simply being aware. What is that thing? God, show it to me. God, lead me to this. Help me to see this. I want to get this right. And then pay attention to what God shows you. Do not ignore it. Practical discipleship training this week for you in this area is this. Maybe just go to your wife and kids. Go to both of them. Not at the same time, but go to them one at a time. And just say, how can I better show up? That's an easy question, right? How can I better show up? I want to do this better. I want to get this right. I know there's this issue over here, whatever it is, right? Even if there's no issue, just I want to get better. I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be the best father that I can be. How can I show up better for you? What do you need from me? What an amazing thing that would be. And then just choose to be more present, no matter what they say. Choose to put the phone down. Choose to play board games. Choose to create time to talk. Choose to go for a walk together. Choose presence. Choose being there. Choose to make sure that your mind isn't somewhere different. Be where your feet are, right? All of those kinds of things. And then last thing here is just take ownership. Take ownership of your life. Stop making excuses. Stop playing the woe is me game. You are the man of the house. Play that role. Play that role. Again, what good will it do? What good will it do if you've provided financially, but you failed in the home? What good will that do? God has called us to provide, but it's way more than money, right? God has defined what provision looks like, and he's going to show you. If you will let him, he will show you. Pay attention. Do what he calls you to do, and just realize it's not too late. That's the devil's words. It's not God's. I think it's too late for Tozer, only because he's not here anymore. But it's not too late for you. And I bet if we had a chance to talk with A.W. Tozer today, I bet you he would look back and say, don't do what I've done. Learn from this. Grow from this. Be better than me. The trap of Tozer is real. You can win and be an amazing man of God in everybody else's eyes, but what about your wife and kids? Don't neglect that. Don't think that providing financially is enough, because it's not. Now, before we leave, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. I know this sounds like a commercial, but I'm telling you, when you do that, it helps to get this message out, this practical discipleship training that we talk about here for Christian men. We can't expand that and grow that if people don't know it exists. So when you subscribe, it tells this back end or whatever that, hey, this is worth paying attention to. And the more people that do it, the more people it gets in front of. So it does make a difference. Thank you for that. And then maybe share it. If this is a conversation that like really hits at home with you, it might hit at home with somebody else that you know. So share it with them, maybe directly with them. Hey, check this out. I think you might like it. If you're on social media, maybe share it there, right? But if you want to be, or you know somebody who wants to be a better man, a better follower of Christ, a better husband, a better father, then that's really what this podcast is about. It's what this whole ministry is about. And so go check out the free tools, go check out the courses or the coaching, the community, all of that. You can find all kinds of stuff to help you as practical discipleship training to be better men that God made you to be at getinthefight.club. Head over there right now, getinthefight.club. Check those things out. Live intentionally today. This is what we say, get in the fight, and have a great day. I'll see you real soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today and listening to the show. Please be sure to head over to the website at getinthefight.club. And before you go, if you haven't already, please subscribe, click the like button, and leave us a positive 5-star review. It makes a huge difference whenever you do. Have a great day. Go get in the fight.